Havana. The sea hums softly against the Malecon. In the distance, a tall, aging man leans on a balcony, eyes half closed, the evening wind brushing through his grey beard. Beneath the twilight sky, the city breathes his name. Fidel. He was born on a sugar plantation, far from the marble halls of power. Yet, from that soil of poverty and pride, something unbreakable began to grow. An idea, a dream, and a defiance that would shake the 20th century. To some, he was a savior. To others, a tyrant. But to history, he became a paradox. The revolutionary who both freed and ruled with iron conviction. Fidel Castro once said, "A revolution is not a bed of roses. A revolution is a struggle between the future and the past." His life was that struggle. Not just against empires or enemies, but against time, fear, and the weight of his own ideals. Behind the fiery speeches and the endless cigar smoke lived a man, restless, brilliant, haunted. Tonight, we journey through the life of that man, not to judge, but to understand. The boy from Biran, the student who dreamed of justice, the leader who defied the world, and the legend who still flickers in the memory of history. This is Fidel Castro, the dream that defied the world. And if you wish to walk further into stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and let history whisper again. Chapter 1. The Childhood and Early Impressions. Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov was born in 1870 in the quiet town of Simbirsk, along the gentle banks of the Volga River. The town was small and serene, with modest streets and homes where daily life moved at a slow, steady pace. His family valued education deeply. His father, Ilya, was a school inspector, disciplinarian, precise, and committed to knowledge. His mother, Maria, was warm and nurturing, encouraging creativity, curiosity, and reflection. From a very young age, Vladimir displayed an unusual intensity. He noticed details others overlooked. The exhaustion in a worker's eyes, the pride in a teacher's gesture, the subtle inequalities woven into everyday life. Even as a child, he questioned everything. He wondered why some families lived in comfort, while others struggled endlessly. He pondered why the voices of the powerful carried weight, while the common people remained unseen. These early questions shaped his mind, forming the first stirrings of social consciousness and a deep sense of justice. Tragedy soon struck. His older brother, Alexander, was executed for participating in a plot against the Tsar. The loss was shattering. Young Vladimir felt the cruelty of the world firsthand. The sudden awareness that injustice could touch anyone, even those he loved most. The sorrow planted in him a seed of rebellion, not fueled by hate, but by a yearning for fairness and a hope that the world could be different, a better place for ordinary people. Vladimir's love for reading became a refuge and a compass. He devoured history, philosophy, literature, and science, letting the words mingle with his observations of everyday life. He walked through the streets of Simbirsk, absorbing the rhythm of the town. Children playing, vendors shouting, teachers instructing. Each scene became a lesson, each encounter a reflection of the social order. He felt deeply, sensing the suffering of others, yet he could step back and analyze the structures that caused it. In these quiet moments, he began shaping a moral compass, one that would guide him long into the future. By his teenage years, Vladimir's intellect and emotional depth had matured. He questioned authority, debated morality, and imagined a society that was fair and just. Even in play, he noticed inequality and wondered about its causes and solutions. The quiet boy in a modest town was quietly forging the foundations of a revolutionary mind. He understood instinctively that ideas held power and that knowledge could become a force for change. As he reflected in later years, Lenin would write, "The goal of socialism is communism." Though abstract to a child, these words echoed the inner vision forming in him, a vision that would guide him through personal loss, exile, political turmoil, and leadership. Every observation, every empathetic moment, every question asked in quiet corners of Simbirsk was a building block, shaping a man who would one day leave a lasting mark on history, and whose mind would continue to fascinate generations to come. Chapter 2: The Awakening of a Revolutionary Mind. As Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov grew older, the quiet streets of Simbirsk could no longer contain the questions that swirled in his mind. He witnessed poverty, inequality, and the rigid structures of Tsarist society. Each observation tugged at his conscience. Each injustice left a mark on his developing psyche. He began to feel that knowledge alone was not enough. The world demanded action, courage, and conviction. The execution of his older brother Alexander remained a haunting presence in his thoughts. Vladimir realized that personal loss could become a force for understanding society's flaws. He often pondered the words that would later guide his life. Freedom is indivisible, either for all or for none. These words captured the essence of his emerging philosophy, a vision of fairness that extended beyond his own pain. At school, and later at university, Vladimir's mind expanded rapidly. He immersed himself in the works of Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels, and other revolutionary thinkers. Ideas of class struggle, the plight of workers, and the possibility of a new social order captivated him. Yet, he did not simply absorb these concepts passively. He questioned, debated, and reflected, analyzing not only the theory, but the psychology of those who would embrace or resist change. Political unrest in Russia was growing. Students debated passionately. Newspapers carried heated arguments, and secret societies formed in the shadows. Vladimir found himself drawn to these discussions, yet always careful, observing the dynamics of leadership, influence, and persuasion. He understood that to change the world, one needed more than passion. One needed strategy, foresight, and an understanding of human motivation. His emotional depth complemented his intellect. He could empathize deeply with the suffering of the common people, yet detach enough to plan and analyze. He began to see patterns in oppression, recognizing how fear, custom, and authority reinforced inequality. These insights would later shape his revolutionary tactics. Vladimir's circle of friends and fellow thinkers grew. Together, they discussed justice, morality, and the possibility of a different society. He became known for his clarity of thought, his unwavering focus, and a quiet intensity that drew people in. He learned the delicate balance between speaking and listening, between inspiring others and planning in secret. Even in private, he reflected on what leadership meant. Could one man guide a movement without losing sight of the principles? Could ideals survive the pressures of politics and power? He wrestled with these questions in the solitude of his room, walking the streets at dusk, feeling the weight of history pressing upon him, yet also the thrill of possibility. By the end of his formative years, Vladimir had awakened not only to the reality of injustice, but to the power of ideas and action. He understood that change required vision, courage, and resilience. As he would later say, "The goal of socialism is communism." The revolutionary mind was taking shape, a mind capable of seeing both the pain of the present and the promise of a new world. Every observation, every debate, every late-night reflection was a step toward a destiny that would one day alter the course of history. Chapter 3: Exile, Study, and the Power of Ideas. Following his growing involvement in revolutionary circles, Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov faced increasing scrutiny from the Tsarist authorities. Political persecution became unavoidable. Arrests, secret police, and constant surveillance made Russia a dangerous place for a young thinker with radical ideas. Exile soon became his path, a forced journey that would shape his intellect, his empathy, and his resolve. He traveled to Switzerland, Germany, and other parts of Europe. At first, exile felt like punishment. The familiar streets of Simbirsk were gone. Friends and family were distant. The comfort of home had vanished. Yet, in the solitude of foreign lands, Vladimir discovered a freedom of thought he had never known. He immersed himself in books, in ideas, and in debate. The works of Marx, Engels, and other revolutionary thinkers were no longer abstract. They became a lens through which he could analyze society, power, and the nature of change. He read endlessly, annotating passages, reflecting on arguments, questioning assumptions. The quiet hours stretching late into the night. Living among other exiles, Vladimir encountered a rich spectrum of revolutionary thought. He debated with peers, challenged their assumptions, and refined his understanding of strategy, leadership, and the psychology of masses. He noticed how ideas took root differently depending on culture, temperament, and circumstance. He learned that intellect alone could not drive change, that passion had to meet precision, and empathy had to meet strategy. Each discussion, each disagreement, became a mental exercise in both theory and human nature, sharpening his ability to see the world as it truly was. Exile was also an emotional journey. The distance from home and the constant longing for his country made him reflective, sometimes melancholic. He thought about the millions suffering under oppression, imagining their lives, their hopes, and their frustrations. In these quiet moments, he felt both the weight of responsibility and the thrill of possibility. The mind that once observed inequality in Simbirsk now perceived the broader patterns of society, the invisible forces that shaped history. Vladimir also began writing extensively. Articles, pamphlets, and letters flowed from his pen. He dissected social structures, critiqued governments, and envisioned revolutionary methods. His writing was analytical yet filled with emotional depth, revealing a thinker who understood that ideas must resonate with people's hearts as well as their minds. He studied alliances, communication, and persuasion. To inspire a movement, clarity of vision, and a deep understanding of human psychology were essential. Observing European socialists, he noted both their successes and failures. He learned patience, discipline, and resilience, realizing that revolutionary change was rarely immediate and often required years of preparation, reflection, and careful action. Even in solitude, Vladimir pondered the moral dimensions of leadership. Could ideals survive compromise? Could strategy coexist with ethics? Could one remain human while guiding a movement demanding discipline, sacrifice, and risk? These questions occupied his nights, his walks along rivers and cobblestone streets in foreign cities, shaping the philosophical foundation of a revolutionary mind. By the end of his years in exile, Vladimir had transformed. The boy from Simbirsk had become a thinker of extraordinary clarity, a strategist attuned to human behavior, and a visionary capable of translating ideas into action. He had learned that exile was not merely punishment, but a teacher, that isolation could sharpen intellect, refine empathy, and forge a mind prepared to change the world. Every book read, every conversation held, every quiet reflection contributed to the emergence of Lenin, the revolutionary, the strategist, the man whose ideas would one day ripple across nations. Chapter 4. The Bolshevik Vision. After years in exile, Vladimir Ilyich Lenin returns to Russia with a mind sharpened by study, reflection, and the weight of experience. The streets he once knew were still modest and familiar. Yet the world had changed, and he had changed too. Peasants struggled under harsh conditions. Workers labored endlessly, and the Tsarist regime remained rigid, resistant to any hint of reform. Lenin observed suffering on every side, but he also saw the potential for transformation. He understood that change required more than anger or desire. It demanded organization, strategy, and an unwavering commitment to principles. He dedicated himself to forming a revolutionary party capable of uniting workers, peasants, and intellectuals. This was the emergence of the Bolsheviks, a faction committed to disciplined, centralized action. Lenin's mind, honed in exile, worked like a precise instrument. He analyzed society, human behavior, and the structures of oppression. He reflected on the failures of previous movements, the moments where passion had lacked direction, and he vowed that his party would avoid the same mistakes. The Bolshevik vision was radical and audacious. It demanded the overthrow of the oppressive Tsarist system and the construction of a society rooted in equality, justice, and shared responsibility. Lenin's writings during this period reveal a rare balance of intellect and empathy. Each pamphlet, article, and speech was crafted to educate, inspire, and mobilize, to awaken in others the awareness of injustice and a readiness to act. He understood that ideas alone were insufficient. They had to resonate emotionally, motivating both hearts and minds. Discipline and structure were central to his strategy. Lenin believed that without organization, the revolution would falter. Yet, he also knew that rigid rules without vision would fail. Leadership, he understood, required insight into human psychology, knowing how to inspire confidence, channel frustration into productive energy, and sustain morale during hardship. He watched his comrades closely, noticing the subtleties of motivation, the doubts unspoken, the tensions hidden behind polite words. Each observation informed his tactics. Each reflection deepened his understanding of movement building. The Bolsheviks faced constant internal debates and external pressures. Factions argued over tactics, strategy, and philosophy. Lenin navigated these with a combination of firmness and subtle persuasion. He listened, observed, and guided, sometimes allowing dissent to flourish, then gently steering the group toward clarity and purpose. His capacity to balance authority with empathy strengthened loyalty and cohesion within the party. Lenin also recognized the power of symbols and words. Slogans, speeches, and writings could ignite imagination, focus action, and unify disparate groups. He crafted messages that spoke to the intellect and the emotions of ordinary people. The goal of socialism is communism, he reminded his followers, not as an abstract theory, but as a guiding light, a psychological anchor that shaped thought and action alike. By 1917, Lenin had transformed the Bolsheviks into a disciplined, organized, and ideologically coherent movement. His years of study, exile, observation, and reflection had forged a revolutionary mind capable of leading not only a party, but an entire nation. The Bolshevik vision was more than politics. It was a blueprint for mobilizing human psychology, aligning ideals with strategy, and channeling the hopes and frustrations of millions into a coherent, unstoppable force. Every discussion, every written word, every strategic plan contributed to this vision. Lenin's clarity, empathy, and insight into human nature ensured that the Bolsheviks were ready. The seeds of revolution had been sown, nurtured by intellect and emotion, and poised to transform the course of history. Chapter 5. The 1917 Revolution. By 1917, Russia was a nation on the brink. Years of war, famine, and political oppression had left millions weary and desperate. The Tsarist regime, once seen as unshakable, was crumbling under the weight of discontent. Streets were filled with demonstrations, strikes, and the restless murmurs of those who had long suffered in silence. Vladimir Ilyich Lenin watched these events with a keen analytical eye. He saw both the chaos and the opportunity. He understood that history, in its most tumultuous moments, could be shaped by those prepared to act with clarity, vision, and resolve. Lenin returned to Petrograd from exile with a sense of urgency and purpose. The journey across Europe had honed not only his intellect, but his psychological insight. He could read the emotions of crowds, sense the fears and hopes of ordinary people, and understand the delicate balance between inspiration and discipline. In the cold streets of the capital, he observed soldiers and workers alike, recognizing the brewing revolutionary spirit. He understood that timing was everything. Too early, and the movement would falter. Too late, and opportunity would slip away. The Bolsheviks, under Lenin's leadership, began organizing strategically. Committees were formed, pamphlets distributed, and speeches delivered. Lenin's approach was methodical. He knew that revolution was not merely a spontaneous eruption of anger, but a disciplined, collective movement, guided by ideas and action. He reminded his comrades, "The goal of socialism is communism." These words were not abstract. They were a call to awareness, a moral compass in chaotic times. In the months leading to October, Lenin faced challenges, both external and internal. Other factions debated tactics, some calling for gradual reform rather than direct action. Lenin listened carefully, weighing the arguments, yet he remained firm in his conviction. A revolution required decisiveness, organization, and clarity of purpose. He understood that hesitation could cost lives, and that vision without action was meaningless. He inspired loyalty through clarity and persistence, guiding the Bolsheviks toward unity, even as pressures mounted. When the moment arrived, Lenin acted with precision. The October Revolution was swift, coordinated, and largely bloodless. Red Guards seized key positions, strategic points in Petrograd fell into Bolshevik hands, and the provisional government was overthrown. Lenin's mind had calculated not only logistics, but psychology, the importance of maintaining morale, ensuring public perception, and minimizing chaos. Every step was deliberate, guided by both principle and understanding of human behavior. Amid the triumph, Lenin never lost sight of the broader purpose. He addressed crowds, wrote decrees, and laid the groundwork for a new society. His speeches combined intellect with emotion, appealing to reason and empathy. He understood that leadership required not only direction, but inspiration, that people needed to feel their own power while following guidance. Every word was crafted to awaken awareness, instill hope, and mobilize action. The revolution also tested Lenin's understanding of human psychology. Trust had to be earned, loyalty maintained, and dissent managed. He navigated these dynamics with a mixture of firmness and insight. He knew that a revolution could only endure if it was built on disciplined organization and shared vision. Ideals alone were not enough. They needed structure, strategy, and the commitment of millions. By the end of 1917, Lenin had succeeded not merely in toppling a regime, but in demonstrating the power of vision aligned with action. The Russian Empire had changed forever. The Bolsheviks, once a small faction in exile, had become the architects of a new society. Lenin's intellect, empathy, and strategic genius had converged in a defining moment of history. He had shown that revolution was not chaos alone, but the disciplined application of ideas, the careful reading of human emotion, and the courage to act when opportunity arose. The 1917 revolution was more than a political event. It was a psychological and social transformation. Lenin's leadership exemplified the fusion of theory and practice, emotion and calculation, idealism and pragmatism. He had turned years of study, observation and reflection into decisive action, forever altering the course of history. A man who had once walked quietly through Simbirsk streets now stood at the helm of a nation, shaping the destiny of millions. Chapter 6. Leading a New Russia. The October Revolution of 1917 had transformed Russia. The centuries-old Tsarist regime lay in ruins, and the Bolsheviks assumed control of a nation in chaos. Streets echoed with unrest. Famine stalked the countryside, and the scars of war weighed heavily on every citizen. Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, once a student in exile, now faced the immense responsibility of leading a country through an uncertain future. Taking power was only the beginning. The true challenge was governance, translating revolutionary ideals into practical policies, and guiding millions through turmoil towards stability. Lenin's approach combined intellect, psychology, and empathy. He understood that leadership required more than authority. Millions were weary, frightened, and skeptical after years of suffering. He walked through cities, met with workers, and spoke to peasants. He listened, observed, and absorbed the rhythms of daily life. Each interaction informed his strategy. He could sense the hopes and fears that pulsed beneath the surface, the silent frustrations, and the subtle loyalties that would either strengthen or undermine the new government. The revolutionary mind that once orchestrated a coup now had to navigate human hearts as carefully as streets and factories. Early decrees focused on land, peace, and workers' rights. Land was redistributed to peasants. Factories came under workers' control, and measures were introduced to alleviate immediate suffering. Lenin understood that words alone were insufficient. Action had to follow swiftly to maintain trust and legitimacy. He wrote extensively, issued speeches, and explained policies clearly. Every document, every appearance, every decision was a lesson in governance, a demonstration of how revolutionary ideals could take concrete form. Internal challenges tested his leadership. Bolshevik unity was fragile, and debates over ideology, tactics, and policy threatened cohesion. Lenin listened carefully to dissenting voices, weighed arguments, and intervened strategically. He balanced firmness with empathy, guiding the party while allowing space for discussion. He recognized that trust and loyalty were built over time, and that disciplined organization was essential. His capacity to maintain morale, instill confidence, and focus the party's energy on common goals became a defining feature of his leadership. Externally, Russia remained unstable. Civil war loomed. Foreign powers intervened, and the economy teetered on collapse. Lenin's decisions had to consider both practical realities and human psychology. He understood that policy was as much about perception as implementation. Every decree, every announcement, every action was designed to inspire confidence, maintain order, and convey a sense of purpose. Leadership, he realized, required clarity of thought and the ability to anticipate human reactions, the same skills that had guided him in exile and in organizing the revolution. Lenin also recognized the symbolic power of words and actions. His speeches were deliberate and emotionally resonant. He combined rational argument with empathy, ensuring citizens understood the government's direction while feeling part of the change. He knew that in times of uncertainty, people needed both guidance and hope. Every public appearance, every carefully chosen phrase reinforced trust and strengthened collective purpose. Despite immense pressures, Lenin remained reflective and intellectually engaged. He continued to read, study, and learn, understanding that a leader must constantly adapt and refine strategies. His approach balanced ideals with pragmatism, ensuring that revolutionary goals were pursued without losing sight of reality. He believed that the vision of socialism required patience, discipline, and deep understanding of human nature. By the end of these formative years of governance, Lenin had established the foundations of a new Russia. He had navigated the complexities of power, blending strategy, psychology, and principle. Leadership for him was an orchestration of ideas and action, moral vision and practical implementation. The boy who had once walked quietly along the streets of Simbirsk now commanded the destiny of millions, shaping a nation through intellect, empathy, and unwavering resolve. Every policy, every speech, every decision reflected the union of mind and heart, vision and action. The qualities that made him one of history's most influential figures. Lenin's experience during this period showed that governing a revolution required more than ideology. It demanded insight into human nature, careful planning, and the courage to act decisively. It required balancing hope and realism, discipline and inspiration, principle and pragmatism, qualities that would define his leadership and the course of Russia for decades to come. Chapter 7: The Challenges and the Struggle for Power. The early years of Bolshevik rule were far from easy. Vladimir Ilyich Lenin faced a nation fractured by war, famine, and political unrest. The Russian Civil War loomed, and opposition forces threatened the fragile new government from every direction. Lenin understood that seizing power was only the first step. Sustaining it would require wisdom, strategy, and a deep understanding of human nature. Internally, the Bolsheviks were not a monolith. Differences of opinion emerged regarding policy, ideology, and tactics. Some advocated compromise with moderate socialist factions, while others demanded swift, uncompromising action. Lenin listened carefully to each perspective. He weighed arguments, considered potential consequences, and intervened decisively when necessary. His psychological insight allowed him to recognize hidden motivations, unspoken fears, and subtle rivalries within the party. Every decision was a delicate balance between authority and persuasion, between firmness and empathy. Externally, the challenges were overwhelming. Counter-revolutionary forces, supported by foreign powers, threatened to undo the revolution entirely. Cities were in turmoil, supplies were scarce, and millions of citizens were desperate. Lenin knew that the success of the revolution depended not only on military strategy, but also on public perception. He focused on ensuring that the Bolsheviks were seen as the legitimate defenders of the people's interests. Every decree, every speech, every action was carefully calculated to maintain trust, inspire confidence, and reinforce the new social order. The struggle for power tested Lenin's resilience. He faced criticism, betrayal, and constant pressure. Yet he remained focused, drawing on the lessons of his years in exile, his deep study of revolutionary theory, and his understanding of human behavior. He recognized that fear, hope, and loyalty could shape outcomes as much as ideology or strategy. By managing emotions, both his own and those of others, he could maintain cohesion and ensure that the party acted decisively when needed. During this period, Lenin also grappled with moral and ethical questions. How far could a revolutionary go in consolidating power without betraying the ideals of justice and equality? How could he balance pragmatism with principle? These questions haunted him, but he approached them analytically, considering both the immediate and long-term consequences of each action. He knew that leadership in a time of crisis demanded difficult decisions, choices that would weigh heavily on the conscience, but were necessary for the survival of the revolution. The Civil War tested every aspect of Lenin's leadership. Communication, coordination, and the psychological fortitude of both leaders and followers became critical. He ensured that the Bolsheviks were organized, disciplined, and united, emphasizing the importance of a shared vision. He recognized that ideological clarity alone was insufficient. Loyalty, morale, and trust had to be maintained continuously. Each challenge became an opportunity to refine strategy, strengthen alliances, and inspire commitment. Through hardship, Lenin's understanding of human nature deepened. He learned that people were motivated not only by ideology, but also by fear, hope, pride, and survival. He applied this insight in every interaction, whether guiding party members, negotiating with allies, or addressing the public. Leadership, he realized, required constant adaptation, empathy, and the ability to anticipate reactions before they unfolded. By the end of these turbulent years, Lenin had solidified Bolshevik control and guided the fledgling Soviet state through its most precarious moments. The struggles tested his intellect, patience, and moral courage, but they also refined his strategic vision. He had proven that the consolidation of power was as much about understanding psychology and human dynamics as it was about ideology and military might. Every crisis endured, every decision made, and every challenge overcome shaped the revolutionary leader whose influence would extend far beyond the borders of Russia. Chapter 8. The Philosophy of Leadership. Leadership for Vladimir Ilyich Lenin was never a matter of titles or authority alone. It was a philosophy, a careful balance of intellect, empathy, and unwavering principle. By the time he had guided the Bolsheviks through revolution and civil war, he understood that true leadership required more than strategy or ideology. It required understanding the human mind, the human heart, and the subtle forces that drive action. Lenin believed that a leader must know both the strengths and weaknesses of those they guide. He studied people carefully, noticing what inspired loyalty, what provoked fear, and what stirred hope. He understood that decisions were not just practical, they were psychological. Every decree, every speech, every interaction carried weight beyond its immediate purpose. Leadership was about shaping perception as much as policy, influencing minds as much as events. He also believed that vision alone was insufficient. Without discipline, organization, and clarity of purpose, ideas remained abstract and impotent. Lenin instilled in the Bolsheviks a rigorous sense of structure, emphasizing that unity and coherence were essential to achieving revolutionary goals. Yet, he balanced this with empathy, understanding that people were motivated not only by obligation, but also by trust, inspiration, and shared conviction. He walked a fine line between firmness and flexibility, authority and persuasion, knowing that human behavior is complex, unpredictable, and nuanced. Lenin's philosophy of leadership extended to moral and ethical responsibility. He constantly questioned the balance between pragmatism and principle, between decisive action and moral integrity. Could a leader maintain ideals while making ruthless decisions necessary for survival? He wrestled with these questions privately, aware that history would judge both results and methods. His reflective nature allowed him to consider not only what could be done, but what should be done. He believed in the power of clarity and communication. Ideas had to be expressed in ways that were accessible and compelling. Lenin's speeches, writings, and directives were crafted to educate, inspire, and mobilize. He understood that leadership meant translating complex concepts into messages that could resonate emotionally as well as intellectually. Words could ignite courage, calm fear, and focus collective energy, shaping the psychological landscape of the nation as effectively as any law or decree. Lenin's philosophy also acknowledged the inevitability of challenges and resistance. Opposition, dissent, and unforeseen obstacles were part of leadership. A true leader, he believed, must remain steady under pressure, adapt to changing circumstances, and maintain focus on long-term objectives. He viewed setbacks not as failures, but as opportunities to learn, recalibrate, and strengthen resolve. Every crisis became a test of insight, patience, and the ability to balance strategic thinking with human understanding. Another crucial aspect of Lenin's leadership was vision, anchored in realism. He combined idealism with pragmatic decision-making. While committed to socialist principles, he recognized the limitations of immediate action and the need for careful planning. He knew that sustainable change required patience, strategy, and continual attention to both structural and human factors. By blending intellect, empathy, discipline, and moral reflection, Lenin created a model of leadership that was both philosophical and practical. He demonstrated that guiding a revolution and a nation was not simply about wielding power, but about understanding people, inspiring trust, and aligning collective energy toward a shared goal. Through the lens of history, Lenin's philosophy of leadership stands as a study in complexity. It shows that influence is rooted in insight, authority tempered by empathy, and action guided by vision. A reminder that the most enduring leaders are those who understand both the mechanics of power and the psychology of those they lead. Chapter 9: Declining Health and the Legacy. As the 1920s progressed, Vladimir Ilyich Lenin's health began to decline. Years of relentless work, the immense pressures of leading a nation, and the constant weight of responsibility took their toll on his body. Strokes and fatigue limited his energy, yet his mind remained sharp. Even in weakness, he continued to think, plan, and guide, aware that the future of the revolution depended on the decisions he still made. Lenin faced the delicate balance between action and limitation. He could no longer travel as freely or speak with the same vigor. But he compensated through meticulous writing, careful communication, and the cultivation of capable deputies. He observed, analyzed, and directed with precision, understanding that leadership was as much about influence as presence. Every word carried weight. Every instruction shaped the course of the Soviet state. Despite physical decline, Lenin reflected deeply on the meaning and purpose of his work. He pondered the revolution's successes and failures, the sacrifices endured, and the ideals that had guided him through decades of struggle. He understood that history would judge him not only by victories, but by the legacy he left. The structures, principles, and ideas that would endure beyond his life. He wrote letters and notes filled with both strategic guidance and personal reflection, aware that his influence must survive even when his voice faltered. Health challenges brought him closer to understanding the fragility of human life. Lenin became contemplative, thinking about mortality, the responsibility of leadership, and the ethical implications of decisions made under pressure. He worried about the future of the Bolshevik Party, the unity of the revolution, and the fate of the people whose lives depended on the stability and direction of the new government. Even as his body weakened, his mind remained vigilant. During these years, Lenin also emphasized the importance of education and ideology. He believed that the survival of the revolution depended on the continued engagement, understanding, and commitment of the people. He urged the party to train new leaders, to maintain discipline, and to ensure that revolutionary ideals were not diluted or forgotten. He understood that legacy is built not only through deeds, but through the careful cultivation of successors. Lenin's declining health did not diminish his moral and psychological insight. He continued to advise, warn, and inspire those around him, blending realism with idealism. He reflected on the human cost of revolution, the complexity of governing, and the challenge of sustaining principles under pressure. His notes reveal a mind constantly at work, assessing both immediate challenges and long-term consequences. By the time of his death in 1924, Lenin had left an indelible mark on history. He transformed a nation, inspired generations, and laid the foundations for a new social and political order. His legacy is complex, shaped by triumphs, controversies, and human imperfection, but undeniably enduring. He had shown that leadership is not only about vision and power, but about understanding, empathy, and the courage to act in the face of extraordinary challenges. Even in his final years, Lenin remained a teacher, a strategist, and a guide. The lessons he imparted, the structures he built, and the ideals he championed would continue to influence Russia and the world. His life, marked by struggle and insight, became a testament to the enduring power of ideas, the resilience of the human spirit, and the profound impact one determined individual can have on history. Chapter 10. The Legend Lives On. Vladimir Ilyich Lenin's life did not end with his death in 1924. His ideas, writings, and actions had already begun to ripple through the world, shaping not only Russia but also the consciousness of millions across continents. The legacy he left was a complex tapestry of vision, struggle, and human determination. Lenin became more than a historical figure. He became a symbol of possibility. He demonstrated that one individual, guided by intellect, principle, and psychological insight, could alter the trajectory of a nation. People studied his writings, debated his strategies, and sought to understand the mind that had orchestrated one of history's most profound revolutions. His life became a lens through which future leaders and thinkers examined the balance between idealism and pragmatism, theory and action. Even as politics evolved and the world changed, the psychological and philosophical lessons of Lenin's leadership endured. His insistence on understanding human motivation, his careful balance between empathy and authority, and his unwavering commitment to principle offered guidance beyond immediate circumstances. Leaders, scholars, and ordinary citizens alike could draw from his example the understanding that enduring change required both insight into the human spirit and the courage to act decisively. The institutions he built, the doctrines he championed, and the movements he inspired continued to shape society long after his passing. His name became a touchstone for revolutionaries, reformers, and those striving for social justice. Yet, beyond politics, his life offered a broader lesson about perseverance, vision, and the weight of responsibility. Lenin showed that leadership is not simply a matter of power, but of clarity, empathy, and ethical judgment in the face of immense challenges. Stories of Lenin circulated through classrooms, literature, and public discourse. His speeches, letters, and essays became tools for education and reflection. Each text provided insight into a mind that had navigated immense uncertainty with strategic clarity and moral purpose. His life reminded people that historical figures are not merely defined by their achievements, but also by the psychological depth and ethical considerations that guided their decisions. As generations passed, debates about Lenin's methods, choices, and impact continued. Critics and admirers alike grappled with the complexity of his legacy. Yet, whether praised or contested, the mark he left on history remained undeniable. He had reshaped a nation, influenced ideology, and illuminated the intricate relationship between human psychology and societal transformation. The legend of Lenin lives on because he embodied the power of ideas enacted with courage, discipline, and understanding. His story encourages reflection on the responsibilities of leadership, the challenges of guiding change, and the enduring influence of one determined individual. Though his life ended, the principles, lessons, and visions he championed continue to echo, reminding the world that profound impact arises from the union of mind, heart, and action. Lenin's life, a testament to resilience and insight, continues to inspire curiosity, debate, and reflection. His legacy endures as both a historical fact and a psychological study, a story of ambition, intellect, and the transformative power of human vision. Vladimir Ilyich Lenin's story reminds us that history is shaped not only by events, but by the people who understand them, feel them, and act upon them with conviction. His life, marked by struggle, insight, and unyielding determination, continues to inspire reflection and debate across generations. From the streets of Simbirsk to the halls of power in Petrograd, Lenin's journey was one of vision tempered by understanding, idealism guided by pragmatism, and courage sustained by empathy. He demonstrated that leadership is not only about seizing power, but about seeing into the hearts and minds of people, anticipating challenges, and guiding others with clarity and purpose. His writings, speeches, and actions continue to echo, offering lessons in strategy, psychology, and the human spirit. The revolutionary ideals he championed remind us that meaningful change is never easy, that it requires intellect, patience, and the courage to act even when uncertainty looms. As we reflect on Lenin's life, we see more than a political figure. We see a man whose ideas and vision shaped the destiny of millions. His story teaches us about perseverance, the weight of responsibility, and the enduring influence of one determined individual.